Hi everyone, this is Ivan Peña. The other side I have Giorgio. Giorgio, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. This is Giorgio.
As you might have noticed already, we are not English speakers or not native. So sorry about that in advance. We will try our best, we promise. Um, but yeah, so hi Giorgio. So how are you doing today?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous, right? I feel kind of like imposter syndrome already because, like, why? uh, Again, a couple of guys, random guys, creating a podcast like this. Everybody's doing it nowadays, so I guess we can start by telling why are we doing this. We were the other day in Qatar in this Web Summit Qatar, and we had some coaching about engagement and marketing and so on. And the coach was telling us that nowadays you have to create a brand, right? You need to be exposed to the public, right? And it seems that the easiest way to do this is to record a podcast. And I asked her, but what am I going to say in this podcast? Nobody will care about what I'm going to say. And she told me something, I'm not sure if it's true, probably, maybe it's true, that there are people for everything. Like at least one guy, one person out there will care about what you have to tell. So if we can bring added value to one guy in the world, like from the 7,000 millions we are,
It's still worth it.
I think it's worth it. The effort, the time, all the edition time that we are going to spend afterwards for this shitty podcast. I don't know how. So what's your motivation here, Giorgio?
In the end, it's what I always say. We need to have our meetings anyway, right? We are building, we are figuring out things as we go. So we need to chat. We need to bring out ideas, and it's fun to do it in public. Again, even if it's just one person listening on the other side, it's just it's nice to share this trip. So I think we should do it, even if it was just for that.
So thank you, our single listener, to listening to us. So maybe we can give some background here. So who are we?
Yeah. So what should we say? We were working together since a while. We have known each other for a while. I think it's almost.
You were quite young back then.
I was
very young. I was not aware of it.
I think it's almost 10 years now. Well,
Yeah.
8 at least.
Yes.
Big company first, doing stuff in financial services. We are from Switzerland, by the way. Well, we are not Swiss. I'm Italian and Ivan is Spanish, but we met in Switzerland and we live in Switzerland. And of course, we work in financial services.
Spanish.
Spanish. And then in startups. So we were also together in a startup, tough challenge. So we were there pretty much from the beginning. We've seen quite some shit, and after that startup was done and acquired, we thought we still wanted to do more. So this is why we are here. This is why we're back to stage one, building new things. Now AI is in the picture, of course. Everybody is looking at that, and we are as well. So I'd say that sums up my motivation, at least. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, maybe my motivation is more like I was not ready to go back to corporate. I've been there for years already, and I think I got everything I needed from it. I think Jack Ma. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Thank you, consulting. And I think it was Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba, who said it once, you should start big companies and so on, kind of gather the feeling and the vibe of what is to work with big corporations. Then you start moving kind of smaller, right? Like medium size companies. So everything gets a bit less political, more chaotic. And then at the end, you kind of end up with creating your own startup or working for a startup first, and then you create your own. So this is kind of like the path I followed. And I think I'm in the I tried already to create startups in the past. They were not successful, although the product was supposed to. And now I realized that because we had competitors and they are still there making money, raising money. So the idea was good, the product was good, and probably the execution and the team were not the best combination. I don't know. But I want to try again, and that's why we are here.
And distribution, of course, right?
Distribution. Oh, shit. We should do a podcast about that only. It's like, we are IT. We love to be in the cave coding. We love building products. We hate to sell them.
I guess this is why we are doing the podcast as well, right?
Basically, yeah. So
we need to expose ourselves.
Exactly.
We never tweeted anything. We never posted anything.
Well, you did some. I was quite surprised when we started. I realized that you have more followers than me in most of the social media.
I have no idea why. I mean, they're probably bots. I mean, honestly.
And they're probably bots. But yeah, I was avoiding this for my whole life. And yeah, I guess I cannot avoid it anymore. So one topic. So we created a blog initially because blogs, yeah, you have time to think about what you're going to write about, to think about the words you will use. You can use also AI to do some rewording. But here we are going raw, right? Like there is no AI. I mean, we thought about creating one LLM to kind of reword our, our grammar mistakes in English.
Maybe also the accent.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a bit the accent.
Maybe make it easier on ears. But
a friend of mine was suggesting that we do that, right? Like to correct the accent, because probably some people might not understand us or something like that. But I don't know. I mean, if you're listening, so our loved single listener, could you please send us an email or something to tell us if you love our accents or we should use some AI to make it more American style, like Netflix like. So if you're out there, please contact us. We'll be happy to hear from you. So I would like to discuss maybe some of the challenges of this kind of thing we are doing, right? So that means basically working for hours and hours without knowing if what we are doing is going to work out or do something. And at the same time, together with all that, all this frustration, lack of path or the right path and so on, we are not getting any income at all. And this has been already for months. So how can you live like that, Giorgio?
I have no idea.
Why are you not stressed? Are you stressed?
There is some stress in it, of course. I mean, there is quite a bit of fear, I guess, in it. Stress can be managed. There is this fear in the background, of course, of that we may not make it, which is true, but still we need to give it a shot. I think it's natural that it's there. It would actually be very dumb if we weren't. If there was no fear, in fact, or maybe nothing that would drive us. That
maybe
would be very odd.
That would be much easier if we were psychopaths.
At least, as you say, yeah. Thank you, corporate, for giving us money. So at least we got a bit of runway to try out this thing. We also didn't mention, because we said we are doing a startup, kind of a startup, you could say.
It's more like a product lab, right?
Exactly. So we are not very keen to raise funding at this point. So if you only listener are a VC, well, it's probably not for you unless you manage to get a very good deal. And this is, we try to keep our independence. We are trying to build our own thing, which makes it probably double the challenge. But yeah, that's so maybe we are a bit mad. But yeah, I think that there is a bit of fear. It's part of it, but it helps us figure out what really matters and move. And keep moving, right?
I think we would regret it if we wouldn't try, or we hadn't tried, right? So yeah, I guess if this doesn't work out eventually, and we need to go back to corporate for a fair salary, I guess we will not regret it. At least we tried. So that's the kind of like the motivation. At least the motivation I'm trying to tell, the message I'm trying to tell myself every day when I need to wake up to work on something that I have no clue what it's going to do in the future or if it's going to help anyone. So it seems, so one of the biggest challenges that we are facing today is, like Giorgio said before, is distribution. What is distribution? If you don't know or you're new in this matter, so basically, if you're IT, you probably have the same issue as we have. So we love to build products. We start building products that we want to build, but we don't know if there is out there someone that wants to buy it. And that's what distribution is about, right? Like, you need to expose yourself. Like, if, like, let's assume, let's assume. I mean, we are 7,000 million people in the world, right?
Yes.
Or maybe 8 already. I don't know. The Indians are growing very fast. But there are a lot of people out there. And if nobody knows about you or your product, who is going to buy it, right? I mean, this might seem obvious, but it's not that obvious in practice. Sometimes we have this idea that we will build a cool product, and probably you will build this cool product that is perfect, is going to solve many problems and so on. But no one knows about it. And you hope that somehow, by some miracle, someone gets to know this product and buys it. It's not going to happen. You need to really
need a miracle. I mean, if
you
really
really need a miracle.
There is this saying, right? Build it and they will come. And I think
yes, no, it's not happening.
Nothing less true than that. I've never seen that in practice.
No.
I think
So
anyone will tell you that it just happened. In fact, I mean, it's probably. And even if you do, I mean, it's obvious survivorship bias, right? You don't hear from all the people who failed, which could be us, which is fun. That's also the fun of this podcast, right? We are really telling you this thing, not knowing if we will make it or not.
Yeah.
Whereas if you hear only from the people who do make it.
It sounds simple. Every time it's horrible, right? Like we have these movies, Social Network and all these movies telling you how they made it big. Okay, they had to suffer, but yeah, you have to do a movie of 2 hours. So in 2 hours, you cannot really feel what's the suffering about, right? So you just see they have to simplify it and reduce it to a couple of problems that, yeah, they have to face. But it's not like that. It's every day is a challenge. It's a nightmare. But somehow it's fun. I don't know. Are we masochists, Giorgio?
We probably are. I mean, by now it's clear.
So the idea also of this blog that we started and now this podcast is to tell everyone, like, how is the process going, right? Like, if we don't really know if we are going to make it, so we are kind of telling about it on the way. And all these movies and blog posts from people that already made it. And maybe a couple of them didn't, and they posted like they didn't do it, but it already happened. They didn't do it, or they didn't make it. So they explain everything in a
it's a
summarized way.
Right? So it's,
exactly. It's like a post-mortem.
After you know the fact, it's easy in insight in a way, right? But or maybe you already made up your mind why something did work or didn't work. But the actual process is usually different. There are so many nuances. Every story is different as well, right? Every company is different. The environment you're operating in, the time you're operating in, right? It makes all the difference. And I think it's nice to experience it like firsthand, real time almost. This was one of the very nice things I remember from this idea of podcasting, right? Somebody was mentioning that at Web Summit, that you can pretty much change things as you go, right? It's not like a TV show, not that we are planning on making a TV show, but as new information comes out, then you can update your podcast, you can do different things. Every week we are going to be somewhere else. And this is the nature of it, right? You get new ideas, you get new inputs, something new is released, and then you can finally build a product that maybe could not be done before. So there is a lot of that happening, and I think this is also the part we enjoy very much. That's why we enjoy very much this freedom of building so many things. And maybe at some point one will work.
And it needs to be profitable, unfortunately. There is no endless money sources from anywhere.
Well, maybe we should mention, I think we could mention that unit text. So we mentioned we are starting a blog, right? We started.
So you can see I'm not a professional sales. It happened already in the Web Summit, right? Like many people, we met a lot of people. We interacted with many people. I don't know if you had the same issue, but at the end of the conversation, it's like everyone had to tell me, well, should we connect or something? Oh shit, LinkedIn. Yes, I forgot about it. Sorry. I'm an IT. I don't do sales.
I'm just here for the vibes.
Exactly. Just for the conversations. I don't care about connecting. But yeah, luckily they didn't forget about it. So yeah, let's talk about unique text. I think you are the best one to talk about.
Yeah, because I think we
product.
Mentioned the blogs, and we just put it out, or like on Hacker News. We just did a couple of posts on Twitter, on Blue Sky, just to get a bit the pulse, see how people react. I think there is something there. I think it's interesting. So basically, I'm reading this book, really good book. I'm not affiliated. I keep saying that, but I actually hope they sold some copies thanks to me.
He's an evangelist of this book.
Writing for developers, blogs that get read, and it was published just a few months ago. It's really nice. I'm not quite done yet. I'm halfway through it.
You are not even finished.
No, I
didn't even know that.
Well, I'm going a bit back and forth. Actually, it's also a bit of a manual, you could say. So as you write, you go back to it as a reference. But anyway, the point is, I think as developers, we all know we should be writing more for one reason or another. Even when we are working at companies, maybe our company has a tech blog, maybe we are working with someone. I remember back at Avaloq, we did some stuff also with AWS. So we wrote together with some fellas at AWS some posts for the AWS blog. And it was very interesting. We got great feedback. Like when we published that, we actually had people reach out and saying that it was really helpful what we were doing, that it resonated with them, that we presented similar challenges as they had. I think we all know we should be writing more. It can open up so many opportunities. Maybe you want to go as a speaker at some conference. Maybe you want to write a book, but we are very bad at it. I mean, let's be honest. At Web Summit, I did a very statistically insignificant survey, but to every developer I found, I would always ask if they liked writing. And I think I got none. Really, it was like, I asked to at least 30, 40 people. None of them said they liked writing, but most of them knew they wanted to write more. And this book helps a lot. I think they do a great job. And there is one thing in particular that I liked about the book. As I said, it was published a few months ago, I think beginning of the year. So of course they had to mention AI. It would have been odd if they didn't talk about AI at all in the old book. Because I think, many people are doing it now. You get an idea and you write one sentence and then ask ChatGPT to write a 5,000 character article on it. But the results are, we immediately know, right? The moment you go on a blog and you read something that was written by ChatGPT, you know, like in 3 seconds. Mm-hmm. You can do a bit of prompting, that's true. You can change a bit the style. You can try to get something that feels a bit more natural. But it's really not there. And
actually, Google is penalizing this to position, right?
And I think reasonably so, right? You could even say Google is just reflecting what people think, right? Mm-hmm. As I think personally, at least, the moment I go in and see that a blog is generated, I automatically believe that there is not much value in it. Like there is no novel idea being presented, which may be false, because maybe I injected some maybe it's someone doing their PhD and they got ChatGPT to write the thesis. So it could be the most innovative, most novel research. But if I think it's written by ChatGPT or similar, I will think it's just bland content. There's just no value in it. So why should I waste 5 minutes to read what some machine put together, talking about nothing? So I just go back. I skip it. And what they do instead, what they recommend in this book about AI, is what I would compare to a copy editor. So when you're writing a book, what you get is you get these feedback loops, you get these review cycles. So you write something, maybe it's not great, but at least you put down your idea, the structure, the outline, and then you get somebody from the publisher to review it and give you feedback, which you then integrate. And you can do this a bit back and forth, but you understand it's a slow process, right? And it's not cheap. I mean, this person, it's their job, right? The copy editor is a professional. It's really valuable, obviously. So publishers that do this thoroughly and invest quite a lot in it, they get better results. It's undeniable. So copy editors do a hell of a job. And this is a bit what they recommend. If you look at this book, at the way they recommend using AI, they actually give you prompts. That's something I really like. Like throughout the book, they give you some examples on how you could improve something. And they basically tell you, if you wouldn't know how to do it yourself, or if you want to see how AI would do it, just try to take your post, put it into ChatGPT, give it this prompt or similar, and see what you get.
And I know the first sentence for sure. It will be, I have an amazing news to share with you guys, or something like that. It sounds really American. It's like if you're a European, you would never write this way, or at least not from our part of Europe, right?
No, but
and I don't see the Germans doing this. Like, I have amazing news to share with you guys.
It is a cultural thing. Yes, that's also a fair point, right? It is a bit of a cultural thing, but it's also a very personal thing, right?
Yeah.
If I write something, I want it to be in my own voice, because before I mentioned, like, if I was writing the most novel idea, okay, that's also a thing, but I'm not, right? I'm not a PhD. I'm not writing about completely new things. Probably whatever I'm saying, 1,000 people told it before, and I'm fine with that, right? I don't have to be a genius. I don't have to be doing breakthrough research, but I still believe I could add some value if I talk about my experience, if I present my thoughts, like with my voice in a different way, and maybe it resonates with someone. Maybe I'm explaining something that somebody explained before, but I do it in a slightly different way, and somebody can understand it that way, and that's already a success. So I don't have to be writing about the most novel thing. I don't have to be inventing something completely new, or just say, oh no, somebody already blogged about this, then I can't talk about it. No, that's not how it works. Actually, it's supposed to be validation. So if I see there is a post or more than one about a certain topic, it means maybe because I experienced something, I did some work in that area, I could also write about it, and I could add something to the conversation. It means there is some interest. If other people posted about that, well, there is some interest about it. These are all things written in the book, by the way. So if you want to read it, great read, as I said.
You should really contact the writers to give you some kind of a bonus or something like that.
I should be an affiliate. So
exactly.
Once I'm an influencer, I will also give out affiliate links. Right now,
I was wondering, do you think that maybe people, like you were describing, like if something is already out there that is written or has been written, I won't write about it. Like, do you think that maybe people tend to do that because they are writing for a certain purpose, like making money, positioning on Google or this kind of thing, instead of just writing, enjoying writing? Or I mean, I don't know, maybe not many people enjoy writing, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's hard to say. Probably that one, right? Not many actually enjoy writing. Not many are good at it. Like I'm not very good at it, and I know it because I don't do it much, right?
But why don't you do it more often?
Because it's tough, right? It's not that easy. It's not like you get started, you have an idea and start writing and you got something perfect. I think that's one challenge, right? It takes a bit of time, it takes a bit of practice, but to be honest, I think one of the biggest challenges, at least for me, for the way I work, is to give some structure to it, to have some clear goal. Like when I say I want to, maybe I have an idea, right? I just worked on something that I think is cool. I think it's interesting. I did some stuff with AI that everybody is working on, but maybe I did something slightly different, or I used the tool in a slightly different way, which I think could be interesting for others. And I acknowledge that. So I say, okay, maybe somebody else would get some value from it. But then I need to give it some structure. Like I need to have a clear goal in mind. I need to say, I want to write this because I think that those specific people, a certain type of audience, say I'm writing for other developers. I'm writing for developers that maybe already know a bit about AI. Maybe I have a specific person in mind when I'm writing, and I need to have a goal.
So you're more or less like my girlfriend. When I tell her, let's go for a walk, and she tells me, okay, where are we going? Just for a walk. But there is no goal. There is no, what is the destination? Like coming back home? Then I don't go.
That's a fair point, right? I don't do it for trips. I'm completely fine doing that. I would gladly go for a drive with no real goal, I guess. And the goal is going for the drive.
But that's the thing. You enjoy driving, right? So if you're telling me that you
as long as there is no traffic,
exactly. I mean, we know Lugano. So Lugano is the main city of Ticino, the Italian canton of Switzerland, Ticino. And it's quite crowded normally by cars. So yeah, I understand that. But yeah, going back to the topic, like you enjoy driving, but maybe you don't enjoy riding.
I guess I cannot do it like mindlessly, right? You need to use some brain power. So maybe that's the challenge. And again, maybe I'm not that good at it, right? My wife is much better at it, so she enjoys writing more. I'm not that good at it. Maybe if I practice more, I will get better at it. And I mean, I think this is a bit the reason behind unit text, as I said, or again, reading this book, writing for developers. So I thought it would explain how the way I work as a developer, how I could write more, and I got some ideas. And I thought AI can really help us write more. Like it can be, in a way, a tutor, as you said, an editor. So it can give me that feedback that I cannot get right now, right? I cannot afford a professional copy editor to give me feedback. And I realized that in a way, this way of structured writing, setting a goal, setting an audience, writing my stuff, maybe not in a perfect way, just like a working draft, and then getting feedback saying, is it good? What can I improve? What can I remove? Did I meet my goal or not? Right? I said I started writing with a goal in mind because I wanted to add some value. I want to publish something that is adding some value for someone, even if it's just one person, but I'm writing with that person in mind. And if I can get this kind of feedback by AI, it means I can get it quickly. It means I can get it multiple times a day. And then I can write or easily because it's faster, right? I can iterate faster. And it takes away some of the effort. And maybe I get better at it. And I realized that in a way, for developers, this is very similar to unit testing, to automated testing, or test-driven development. Before I start writing my code, my actual business logic, whatever I want my application to do, I first write a test. I write in code what I want my application to achieve. So if I'm doing a calculator, I will tell my calculator that 5 times 3 equals 15 and 2 + 2 = 4. I encode that, then I write my code, and I keep running my tests as I run my code to make sure I'm actually doing the right thing, that I get the results I expected. And that's why unit text. So unit tests for text.
It's a really smart name. I mean, I like it. It's but yeah, it's a geek thing, right? Like you were saying the other day, should we change the name on the website for people that are not IT? But yeah, as I told you, like people don't understand what Anthropic means, right? Like,
makes sense.
So why should we change the name? If they don't get it, they don't get it. I mean, they just need to find the tool useful, right?
But now you know. So even if you're not a developer and you listen to the podcast, then you will know why. Also, the domain name was available, and it was cheap. So.
But we didn't know that. That was afterwards. So yeah, what's the status right now of this tool? So when are we distributing?
Well, I was working on the website right now. That's why I mentioned the domain name. So I was doing some work on that. I think what we already did, so we published, let's say, a version for developers, as we said before. So we published it on Hacker News. We got a bit of comments. It was not front page material, understandably, but still we got quite a bit of engagement.
And 30 stars on GitHub. That's really, for us, it's like a huge achievement, right?
Yeah, I think it's my most star project on GitHub. It surpassed the other, which is like 50 stars. No, 25 stars, something like that. So we released the open source core. It's just a POC really. So it's a proof of concept showcasing the idea and showcasing the two main functionality: the ideation phase, where you try to write down, as we said, about your goal, your audience, and the testing, the actual iterating on or working draft. And this is open source. It's on GitHub for developers, but it's a bit clunky to use. At least
it's quite technical
if you're not a developer, right? Yeah. If you don't want to run a Python CLI. So I think the next step, what we need to do, is build it as an API, or we need to wrap it into an API so that we can then expose it to other platforms. So we can integrate it with other platforms.
Like for instance?
I'd say the browser is a very good first target because, I mean, everybody is using a browser in one way or another. I think we spend 80% of our time working in browsers. Mm-hmm. So I'd say it's a low-hanging fruit. But then we don't really have to stop there, right? We could even integrate something in Word. We could integrate something in Google Docs, Gmail, Apple.
We got that
Mail.
As well, right? Like a requirement from a guy from Hacker News.
I think somebody mentioned that, right? Yeah, they said I would like that to write emails. Mm-hmm. I think I would like it too, actually. I'm also very bad at emails. It's funny. I think that's also add another layer to it. Mm-hmm. Right now, as I said, it was very much about writing for developers because that's where I got the idea, right? Technical blogs written by developers, usually for developers. Mm-hmm. But the concept, if you think about it, applies for anything that you need to write. Emails is one.
Do you think, can we stop there and drill down a bit on emails? Like, I understand the point. I mean, I'm trying to be the devil's advocate here a bit, right? I know the context, everything I'm asking, I know already, obviously. But I'm actually the one working on the API. So if I don't know that. But anyway, so let's focus on emails, because emails are not the same as blog posts or something written like, So there are many tools out there relying completely on AIs to write your emails, at least the draft of it. And I understand that because emails, it's not supposed to be enjoyable. Something is just to communicate, right? So why do you think we should apply the same approach as we do for blog posts, where people they read them to enjoy the reading or to get value out of it, not just to communicate. While emails is not about enjoyment or getting something out of it, just pure communication between two parties, right?
Does it though? I wonder. I mean, does an email?
Do you love reading emails?
Well, sometimes I do.
If it's from me. I have some memes, so you have some fun.
It's part of it though, isn't it? I mean, you can write emails in you can write emails in many ways. Like all forms of communications, they can be done in many ways. And yeah, it's true that most emails you get, they're very bland. They're very prosaic as well. I mean, they're just
FYI.
I mean, that's one of the best emails that you can send, right? If I just need to forward something to you, I think you may be interested. Why is FYI not a good body? It's fine. The good email is below already. I'm forwarding it for a reason, usually. And that's absolutely fine. And in fact, I'm also completely fine with an email just saying, okay, you can send me that email. It's 99% of the time it's fine. I'd rather receive an email like that rather than 15 sentences that actually just mean okay, and I'm wasting my time to read it, or I need to take it and put it back into an AI to summarize it. I feel like that's incredibly stupid. I remember I was talking with some friend that it was like when ChatGPT was really announced, or like when ChatGPT 3 was announced. I was very happy about it because he shared this use case specifically. So he said, oh, finally, I don't have to waste time writing emails. I just let ChatGPT write them for me. And when I get emails, I don't have to waste time reading them. I ask ChatGPT to summarize them. And I just answered, did you consider just writing shorter emails? Like just the information that you need to share, especially if it's your colleagues, if it's your friends you're writing to. Like,
is he Italian?
No, he's not. I think he's Swiss, actually.
Okay. And I'm surprised.
But I mean, why do you need all that fluff around if you're trying to express a simple concept? I think it's absolutely fine to express a simple concept with simple words, with few sentences, and not waste anyone's time. And adding AI in the picture and generating loads of bland, prosaic words around it, I personally, at least, I really don't see the need for that. I think it's better if you just send maybe a much shorter emails, just a few words you need, you nail the core concept. I think that's still the important part. If I'm sending an email and I'm wasting, I mean, I'm asking for somebody's time, right? For them to read it. Then I need to have something to tell them. I don't want to spam people, right? I want to give them something that they can understand in the minimum amount of time needed so I can pass that core message. And that's where I see the similarity with the other tool. I should still have a goal to send out an email. And if the goal is just to confirm and say, okay, I will say, okay. As long as my intent is 100% clear, that's good. If I need to express a slightly more complex concept, maybe, I want to use emails to maybe also track an agreement. Maybe I'm working on a project, maybe I'm working with a client, and then I want my email to...
Well, that makes sense, yeah.
It's a record of intent, right? I'm sharing what I'm doing, and the client is sharing what they want, what they're trying to achieve. It becomes really important that the communication is clear. Not that it's a masterpiece, which is not what AI does anyway, but that it is authentic, and that it really brings some value. It has some meaning. And I believe this kind of tool would help in that case. Not because you need to write something that is enjoyable. It can be, like if you're a really good writer, emails, letters can be enjoyable, but so that you can really provide something that is of value, that you are writing something that actually has a clear goal, then I think it makes sense even for email.
So if you didn't realize so far, we are really like committed now to this product, because when you are working for months on many different things, and you see a slight, a really small piece of traction like we are having right now with this tool, you commit your whole effort on it, right? The problem is still, even if you get this little traction, maybe it's not enough traction to sustain the project, right? And that's the pity, right? But yeah, I guess we feel optimistic. That's, I guess, is the best recommendation for every entrepreneur. Like, feel optimistic every time. Otherwise, you are dead. And here we are quite optimistic with this product. So yeah, let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is some interest. I think there are some clear use cases. People want to write more. Or in fact, if you are listening, or to you, the lone listener, if you want to share your feedback, we gladly take it. But we believe, from what we've seen so far, that people would like to write more, but sometimes are lacking the tools or the motivation or the structure to do it. So even if it helps just one person in the end, well, at least it's there, it's open source, and you can use it. Let's see if we can actually build a business out of it. Mm-hmm. That's going to be interesting.
And coming back to the distribution matter, what did you do so that people knew about this tool that you didn't do in the past with other tools we built?
Oh, well, at least I posted about it, right?
Yeah.
Well, I wrote a blog post using the tool and using the learnings from the book, which I think was an interesting thing to do. Maybe I'll do another blog post diving a bit deeper also in some actual learnings from using AI to build a product. I think that's also interesting.
We got 2 likes for that post, by the way.
It's probably
Google
us.
Analytics. No, one of them for sure is me, yes, because I was testing our new widget too, the voting widget. By the way, if you read our blogs, please go to the end. You will find a voting widget there. Please vote so we can see if it's really what we are doing here. It's really adding value or something, because yeah, otherwise we need to pivot.
And then what else? Well, we also mentioned it on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky, because that's what we use. Mm-hmm. Still not keen of dancing on TikTok. No. I'm a very bad dancer.
We are trying to avoid video. I mean, it's a lot of effort, right? A lot of time invested editing the video. Because TikTok, for instance, I mean, YouTube, okay, it's getting... I mean, if you are a YouTube user like I am, I consume a lot of YouTube content, you can... I mean, the recommendation is around 20 minutes or so, right? But in the first minute, you need to, or that's what Mr. Beats says, you need to, in 1 minute, express or tell the viewer what the video is about, right? Like the highlights. So you can get them engaged, so they keep watching, right? So it's quite hard. But when it comes to TikTok, the whole video needs to be only 1 minute, maximum, right? So if you are talking about tech topics, it's really...
it's really hard. I mean, you need to compress it so much.
Yes.
I don't remember who said that, but there was this quote: if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter, because it takes time to compress things.
Yeah.
I guess it is also why it's interesting to do this podcast. I think we may have been talking for an hour now.
Not yet.
Maybe with the edit, it would come down to less, but
yeah.
It's easy to actually go and do a brain dump. It's harder to compress and give some meaning to what you're saying, which I believe unit text is also... would also be helpful with, because you can do a brain dump first and then get the feedback from your copy editor telling you, you know what, maybe this is too much, maybe this is oversharing, maybe this is use it in another post. You can write another 3 posts with all this material.
I will get that for sure, that feedback. You are oversharing. We don't care about your personal life. At least that's the feedback I get from my girlfriend many times. It's like, you really have no filter. So, by the way, we didn't discuss how long the podcast should be, like the episodes. Should we do 1 hour?
We have no idea, right?
I mean, it's 45 minutes already, at least on my side. On yours, is probably more.
Yeah, I think it's 10
you
minutes
started
more
before.
because I started recording earlier. But
Yeah.
we need to edit it, of course. I think we probably will end up maybe cutting some parts or maybe taking some empty parts out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, I mean, going between 40 minutes to 1 hour, I think it's quite reasonable. That's already a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Although I know that some people just like to listen to people talking
Or sleep
for hours.
I mean, we got one of the talks during the Web Summit was about this, right? Like that, there was a guy that was doing a podcast about neurological things. I don't remember, to be honest. He was a doctor.
Yeah, it
I
was
think.
a neuroscientist.
Yeah, exactly. And he was saying, I don't know about you, but I don't like people to listen to my podcast to go to sleep. And I was thinking, like, I wouldn't care. I mean, I just need listeners. I don't care if they go to sleep with my voice or not. I mean, it would be nice.
Maybe the brain still gets something. I mean, I don't know. He's the neuroscientist, so he will definitely know more than us. But maybe you're still getting something, even while you're sleeping, like through osmosis. I feel like that's how I learned languages. I studied languages at school, but my French and German are terrible, even worse than my English. But at least the English, well, I lived in Scotland, so I learned a bit. But the French and German, maybe through osmosis. Maybe while I was sleeping in class, I got something, which is really unfortunate. I should have focused more back then.
Maybe we should do a podcast about what it is to learn German for Latin speakers, right? Like probably a lot of frustration in that episode. It's really a hard language when you are a Latin speaker. But yeah, I don't want to whine or complain about it. I already did for 10 years now. So
that would genuinely be a podcast about failure.
Yeah. So what do we have to do next? So when it comes to distribution, so we said that we need to expose ourselves on social media, although we don't like it, but we have to do it anyway. We realized that the algorithm, I mean, many people are saying, or many experts, I'm unquoting here. You don't see me, but I'm doing it. They say you need to post things and bring value, right? Whatever that means, because like this coach in the Web Summit said, like, what is bringing value? I mean, you might think that something you need to tell is not bringing value, but maybe someone finds value in it. Maybe to fall asleep, that's already adding value, right? So these experts are saying that you need to really post to bring value, but the algorithm, we realize that it's not really caring much about the value, right? Because we built a social network, our previous startup, we had to bring a social network for investors. So we really know what it is to build this kind of algorithm. What you care when you have a social network is about engagement, like active users. And active users doesn't mean that they need to bring added value. It means that they need to interact. And that could be to say dumb things. You don't really care if they're bringing activity to the platform, right? So actually the algorithm cares that you post and reply, right? So the more you reply, the more you post, the more you're promoted by the algorithm, right? Of course, don't post controversial stuff like porn or something like that, because then probably you will be banned. But even controversial stuff, right? Like, I mean, let's put Elon Musk like as an example, right? He's probably in every post posting something controversial. I mean, he's also the owner of the social network, right? But it's really adding value, this thing. It's actually creating more activity on the platform, right? So I guess the more you post, the more you interact with the platform, the more you will be promoted by the algorithm. So I guess we need to kind of exploit this in a way and start posting more, even if we don't have to say much about something, but more like saying, oh, that's really cool what you're saying here, or these kind of things, right? It's not really adding value or to anyone, but kind of confirming, just posting.
I think you just need to be around, right? It's a bit the same as being around even physically, right? Say we're talking about a conference before. If you're not around, you may be doing the most interesting thing, but nobody will know. And even on social media, I guess it's a bit like that, right? You need to be around. You also need to engage to get some engagement. So I think we need to get a bit better at that. That's about it. So we need to stop being just lurkers, just looking around and reading things. And we need to put something out. Maybe it's not incredibly valuable initially. Maybe not everything is valuable. That's also fair. But we should give more than we take, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we do that, we get a chance. We can actually present what we're doing and get some feedback, get some engagement, and understand if we're building the right thing or not. Because in the end, it boils down to that, right? So what we want to do is, we think we've got the skills to build things. We like building things, but we would like to build things that are actually useful for someone. And we need feedback for that. So that's what we are trying to do here.
So please, single listener, give us feedback. We need you. No, but it's true, right? We are building everything to kind of make it less friction. So for people to give us feedback, right? Like we created this widget on our website and we put it everywhere in every blog post. We are also presenting our products portfolio, and for every product page we put also the widget so people can vote on it. But yeah, like a friend of mine told me, like, yeah, I saw the widget, but like in every page that include these widgets, I did nothing, right? I just ignored it. For you, is obviously like, well, I don't care. But for us, it's really valuable, right? Like, so if you are on the other side, please, whenever you see a voting widget for a startup, especially, maybe not for the Google Docs, but for a startup, a small company, please vote, because that feedback is what we need to survive, right? But yeah, we're trying many things. We are trying with podcasts, we are trying our website, we are trying also social media. Now we maybe we can talk about applications to different programs. Like we found like a web summit, so we went to the web summit to kind of, we didn't really have an idea of what we were going to do on the web summit, right? But we just went there and tried to engage with other people, other entrepreneurs that are trying to do the same as us, probably more successfully, but
definitely more successfully. Yeah. But we met some very nice people. We got some very good ideas. As you said, we got feedback just because we were around, and we talked to people struggling with different challenges. We got new ideas, other things we could build. Of course, we still need to, again, validate them, get more feedback, understand if they're valuable for many more. And in the end, if we can build a business out of it, because that's the world we live in. So we need to figure something out to keep going. So
I was listening to another podcast yesterday about this discussion. A guy was asking, in Barcelona, we have this Mobile World Congress. I think it's World Congress, something with mobile, right? And the guy was asking, I went to the Mobile World Congress, but I really didn't have a goal. Like, what could be my goal to go to those events? And one of the experts was saying, if you don't have a goal, why are you going at all, right? And it's a fair point. If you have clients or possible clients or prospects, you could go there and try to find them, trying to interact with them. But when we went to Qatar, we didn't really have prospects, or we didn't even have anything to sell per se, right? So what was your motivation to go to Qatar? And I'm asking you because you were the one suggesting it. I didn't want to go, but I went anyway and I enjoyed it. So thank you, Giorgio, for pushing me outside my limits again.
I have no idea. Well, at least, yeah.
But you were really convinced. It's like, if you are not coming, I will go alone. It's like, okay, I'm coming.
I don't know. I had the feeling that it would be useful somehow, which I think it was. We did have something to present at least, so we did of course get a booth, because at least we did have one application to present, another product that we launched a couple of months back, maybe for another podcast episode to talk about. But in the end, again, I think it's the same as I was saying before. You need to be around. You need to meet people one way or another. Sure, social media is one, but actually meeting people is a great way to spark new ideas, to just start kickstart new discussions. And I think it was a bit that pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone as well. It was a completely new,
definitely, but we enjoyed it.
We enjoyed it, and I think it was useful. It was eye-opening. We have seen a very different part of the world also from what we're used to. We're very much centered in Europe. That's what we know, and we went a bit outside our comfort zone. It was my first time in Asia, first time in the MENA region. I gotten to see a different way of doing business, new cultures. I think it's always valuable. There is always some learning that you can get out of it.
Definitely.
At least you should go with an open mind. Yeah, even if you don't have a clear goal, which of course it would be better if you had a very clear goal. But at least you can take it as a learning experience.
What we did to interact the most is to use these gatherings, right? Like the event was providing these gatherings, meetups they called, where you could just go there. They had, each one of them, they had a topic, like a theme, like AI founders or people from Switzerland or these kind of things. So you join some of them and you just go to some kind of square, not room. It was not a room because it was kind of like no walls or ceiling, but in a square area. And you just go there and meet people, right? So this is one of the recommendations. It really helped to get some feedback from different people. But it's quite hard, right? Like it's really cold door sales. Like you just go there and talk to random people, and sometimes most of them are IT as well, so they don't come to you. So you need to go to them. Although we were pretty lucky with that. Like many people approached us. So we didn't have to do it ourselves.
But also keep in mind that you are at people are at the conference to meet people, right? Yes. Everybody is there to network and get ideas and chat. So don't be afraid. We don't bite. Nobody does. Everybody is very happy to engage in conversations there. So
maybe one of the problems is that you don't know, like if you are not good at small talk, how do you break ice? Because you're not approaching someone and say, "Hi, can I tell you about my tool?"
Some people can, obviously, very confident people can, and it's good that we have them. At least they're usually the ones that start the conversation.
Pretty nice. Yeah. And one thing that also there was also a discussion about having a booth or not, or is it really bringing value? So one of the founders, he did it on purpose. So there were different tickets, right? One of the tickets was like for startups, and you had different levels depending on what stage of your startup you are in. We were alpha, which is kind of like the newbies, like you are still like really green, immature. And there was another one just for visitors. So you didn't have a startup, you just wanted to visit the event. And one of the founders took on purpose the visitor ticket. And the reason behind it was to avoid, because they give you a booth, right? You cannot avoid it, you just get it. And the guy was avoiding getting the booth because he said, I don't want to have the booth because then I'm stuck in that booth for the whole day. While if I'm not in that booth, I can go to meetings and I can go to something else. I can interact with more people. And in the booth, it's more like people trying to interact with you, like coming to you, right? So what do you think, since you were the one staying in the booth for the whole day, because we had to fly back, unfortunately?
Yeah,
what's your experience? Do you recommend it?
I think it can add some value. As usual, it depends. So we can't say we have an answer for that. I did get some interesting people coming to the booth and sharing their stories, their ideas. I also didn't stay 100% at the booth, also to go and meet some more people, to go to some interesting meetups, because I knew they were going to be useful, which they were. So, of course, probably the recommendation is, if you can be there with someone so that you can still go around, try to do that. That's probably the recommendation for launching companies in general, right? You need to have someone. I would not be doing this alone.
Solo founder. So that's another interesting question, right? Like solo founder versus more founders. I think the recommendation is to have someone always, or if you can, of course. In general, the recommendation is that one, but not too many people, right?
Yeah.
I think more or less 2, maximum 3 is okay. But keep in mind that the more people you add on top, the more opinions you will have. And building a startup, I mean, democracy is great, and this might be a bit, let's add some controversy to our podcast. So democracy is really cool thing. We live in Switzerland, where probably is the biggest democracy ever. We have direct democracy. So people really vote, or you can have an opinion in this country, and it's considered. But when you are building a startup, you might get stuck when too many opinions are presented, right? And we suffered already this in the past. And you really need to have or maybe this is the role of the CEO, right? Like to be the referee, like when something gets stuck in some endless discussions. And this can happen really easily, right? Especially if you have a lot of egos in your company, this could happen. So I guess the figure of the CEO is to like say, okay, these are the options. Let's take this one. Let's go for it. And if we fail, we just pivot or something, right? But yeah, that's why the recommendation of 2 people or 3 people maximum, it's a valid one, right? Like you don't want to have too many opinions. I mean, when you are on the same page, it's fine. You can be quite fast. But when you are disagreeing, it can be a nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think probably this is material for another hour or 2 of podcast. But yeah, there are many layers to it. One thing that comes to my mind is, and this is valid for all teams, in fact, not just for founding teams, but the more people you have, you need to imagine that the combinatorial, the growth of all the relationships that you have is not linear. It grows. It's larger than linear, because everyone has got some kind of interaction with everyone else in the team.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's 2 people, there is just one relationship to take care of. But when it's 3 people, it's already 3. Like between you've got an interaction between all of them, and you see how this is growing, right? And the more people you add, the more this can explode, right? You can have even just one bad relationship inside that can bring everything else down. So I think that's one level, that's one challenge. And another challenge is, of course, as you say, when you disagree, you still need to commit in the end. If I'm doing something and you're doing something completely different, we will not get anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the more people you add in the picture, the harder it is. If anyone is not contributing, or maybe is actively going in another direction, you won't get anywhere. So at some point, it's also important to know that there will be times when we disagree, and we want to do different things, but it's important that we then commit to one. Even if someone disagrees, we all agree on doing one, and we try it out. Maybe we fail, and then we can try out something else. But yeah, of course, it's easier if it's 2-3 people. The more you are, the harder it is.
I remember when we applied for a program, not now, but like years ago, one of I think it was an accelerator back in Spain. They said, like, they asked the question, like, what is the share of each one of you? And we said like, we are equal. We were like more than even 4 people, I think we were, and we were equal, like 25% each one of us, right? And they were kind of like, we don't like that. And it seems it's because of this, right? Like when shit hits the fan, you really need to take a decision. You don't have the time to just fight egos. And you know what I mean? It's like, you really need to take one of the decisions and go for it. If you are all having the same share, then you have the same power in the company. And that can, like, you get like a blockage, right? But if one of the founders have more equity than the other ones, that one at the end has the last word, right?
Yeah, something I've heard, it can even be like a symbolic thing, but you can have one person that has one share more. Mm-hmm. And it's clear that in the end, especially when you have, as you say, a larger team, 3-4 people, at some point, somebody needs to make that decision, and everybody needs to commit. Everybody needs to follow. If you cannot do that, then yeah, the company is already doomed. So, but again, I think this is probably material for
another episode. And going back to the solo founder, so what does it bring you to be with someone else, with me?
Yeah, as I said, I think I don't think I would be able to do it all on my own.
Although I think you could.
It's like, maybe technically I could.
Not only technically. I really, when I talk to people about you, you should ask my friend Juan. When I talk about you, I'm really good at selling other people.
Maybe we should be recruiters.
Yeah.
We should pivot. No, but it's probably that, I don't know if it's the same, but probably similarly as how I say why I'm working with you, which is, for instance, there's one very concrete thing that I do that you help me avoid. I get stuck thinking about things, trying to rework things in my mind before I even get started getting them done. And this is bringing me nowhere. This is wasting so much time. And what I need sometimes is someone who we have an idea, do the thing, see how it works or how it doesn't work, and then we can iterate on it. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like a stupid thing, but I'm very bad at it. Mm-hmm. I easily get stuck thinking about things, and you avoid that. And getting this motivation for me is incredibly valuable. I briefly touched on this other product we launched a couple of months ago. I did that product was a side project of mine. Mm-hmm. I did the first version 2 years ago, and I was a bit I had a clear deadline back then because a friend asked for it. I would start a new job. This is Group, yeah. Okay. I think we will talk about it again in another podcast. But Group was a side project of mine. So the very first version I did in like 2 weeks. I had a clear deadline. A friend had asked for it. I committed with him. So I said, yeah, okay, I can do it. And then I was going to start a new job after those 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And so I had a very clear deadline. And I just did it. I thought it was not perfect, but I did it.
I'm actually surprised that you managed to do it, because knowing you is like you could feel dirty when you published.
Right? I mean,
like showering is like, oh, I don't like it.
That's the point. I didn't quite like it. I used technologies I didn't want to use. I did many things.
We won't mention that technology because we don't want people to.
I don't want to give them
to hate us in the first episode.
It's not true. I love Angular. I mean, the thing is, I know it well enough. I know it well enough that I hate some things about Angular. I know hate many things about Angular, but it's because I know it very well. That's the point of knowing something technology properly. Then you know what you like and you know what you hate. At that point, it made sense for some reason, but again, material for other podcasts. But my real point is, I had a deadline, I had some commitment, and then I did it. At some point in those 2 years, I realized, based on feedback I got from the users, because they were actually using it and they loved my shitty MVP, they actually used it a lot, daily. And they asked for more features. And they asked to use this app with other people. But it was just not built to do that. Because, again, it was a shitty MVP. And so I started thinking about the new version. Problem is, I worked on the new version for 2 years. Before
he went Giorgio style 100% mode, you know.
Of course I did. So I was thinking and trying out new things and trying out new frameworks and doing something and then deleting it and doing it again. And that was I kind of liked it, but I could never get myself to actually ship that version. They had something else anyway. I was at that point after those 2 years, and as I said, we were working at a different company also with Ivan, and then once we were done with that and we were out, trying to figure out what we would do next, and one of the natural ideas that came was Ivan just saying, if you want to share your side project, we can actually get it done, which we did. When you were brought in the picture, I think we completed it in 1 month. We actually put it on the store in 1 month. And it's doing that thing, right? Doing that last mile or again, committing.
I'm really good at committing, I must say. Yeah, that's true. But it's true also, like this kind of, you're describing this thing about you that it might sound like a weakness, but it's not. Maybe in certain topics like this one, like really committing and, okay, this is the deadline, so let's just ship whatever we have this date. But there is a lot of strength in this feature of yours, right? If we can call it like that. We are really techie. So the thing is, if something built by Giorgio goes to production, you can bet on that it will never break, or at least most of the time will never break. I mean, of course, no software is perfect, but you know for sure that he went through all the different use cases, went to the different options, architectural design, and all that stuff. So if it goes to production and it was built by Giorgio Azzinaro, you can really rely on this product or platform, right? So at the same time, it's really a strength that you have to build stable software, but maybe it's a weakness or something to work on when you need to build a product like an MVP maybe, or something quick to get feedback, right? And this is difficult. This is really difficult to handle because you're kind of like a perfectionist, and that's fine. If you really want to build a stable product, you have to be a perfectionist. But when it comes to maybe distribution and getting feedback quick, it's obviously something we need to work on. I mean, I'm not perfect either, right? My friend Juan is better than me. He was my Ivan when I was working with him. He was telling me like, why are you focusing on this? This doesn't make any sense. Just let's ship or. So it's something you can learn, but it's when your nature is the details, being the details, and IT people mostly are really good at that, like getting to the details. It's really difficult to decouple from that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you need some balance. This thing is really hard, and I think you helped me a lot with that. And that's just one thing. I could say more. There is also, I remember a friend of mine shared this thing, and I like it a lot. This metaphor he was saying, to light, if you want to light a fire with rocks, you need 2 rocks to get the spark. You need 2 rocks to light a fire. Mm-hmm. It's just how it is. So that this getting feedback, discussing things, it's invaluable when you want to build something. If I had to do it alone, I don't think I would be able to pull through it. At some point, I would just I would just drop.
I want to believe that group by now it would be live. Hopefully, I want to believe that, Giorgio.
And I really think it wouldn't be, honestly.
I don't know.
think it would be.
I want to believe. So it has been already on my side 1 hour 15 minutes. Should we wrap it up?
What should we do? I think we can probably do one of these a week, every week.
We can try once per week.
Yeah, and let's see you next week then.
Though I ain't no rich, but damn poor.